Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Can't even recognize this place. Too many pieces of our past mistakes.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I believe real change starts from the inside out. So let's work together to improve our money and our lives from the inside out. We will explore all things money and our relationship with it. Join me each week with a rotating set of co-hosts, friends, and interviews. Let's jump in.
It's time, we going round and round and round and round and round.
Hey, Liz.
Hi, Maggie. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see your face.
It is nice to see your face. You haven't made a new Liz Maggie podcast in a long time. You haven't made a Liz anybody besides Greg podcast in a long time.
I know. Yeah, we did so much pre-recording leading up to some summer travel that even though to everyone else out there, it felt like I had seen you perhaps, I had not seen you in months now.
I know, it's terrible. Let's never
good to see your face.
Let's never do that come between us again. Well, what do you want to talk about today? Did you have any ideas?
Yeah. We should do we have an actual topic today, but you just saying that reminded me we should do an episode one time where we really just come in with nothing and like a freestyle.
Yeah.
It could be the best or the worst episode we've ever done.
I love that idea.
It would have been good to do today, actually, because I think we were both rusty on, we hadn't, we didn't have a planned topic far in advance.
Right. But we did have a planned topic because listeners, we did do our homework because we love you and we want you to feel like we're trying.
We do have a planned topic. And when this one was had been we have kind of a hopper of a backlog of ideas. And sometimes before we're going to record, we'll say, what are you feeling like? What's feeling, because I'll have ideas over time, but then sometimes I'm not feeling certain things in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk about secondhand stuff.
Yeah, shopping secondhand.
All of it. Yeah, shopping. Right. I was trying to think what else could be secondhand, but yeah. Yeah, just everything shopping related and secondhand. And I'm excited for this topic because I strive to want to buy more secondhand, use more secondhand, and create more secondhand for other people. Yeah.
Shopping secondhand was actually on my official list of annual goals last year and this year to do it more.
What was the actual stated goal? Was it just to do it more, or was there I
think it was literally shop secondhand. My goals aren't that.
I wasn't sure if they were smart goals or. Okay.
I don't do smart goals in my life.
A loose goal.
It's just a vibe.
I like it. Yeah, no, it's a good one. Have you done it?
Yes, not as much last year, but this year I'm on a roll.
That's awesome. So we're going to talk about some of the benefits. We're going to talk about what we think are some of the best things you can get secondhand and some tips and recommendations for how to do secondhand buying well and get the best out of it. And then we'll share some other secondhand shopping resources and things like that. Some of the best secondhand stuff we've gotten. And then we'll go into at the end, we're going to wrap up with a smash or pass on how far we'll go with secondhand. If you've ever wanted to know, am I frugal enough or is Liz frugal enough to buy secondhand underwear, for example? We'll discuss that.
Stick around. Smash or pass is always a highlight. So
stick around for the smash or pass.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this because I have really, again, this year I've really accelerated my secondhand shopping, and it's just so good for you and the planet and your wallet, and just every single there are very few downsides, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. It's very low risk for sure.
Right. You save a lot of money. I'm lately big on an environmental kick. I mean, I feel that's always been part of my life to some extent, but every time I go to buy something like a kitchen utensil or a desk chair or a dog leash or whatever, I'm wait, let me think. Are there already thousands of this thing that already exist in the world that are sitting in people's closets all over my city
that aren't being used? Yeah,
right.
For real.
Yeah. I don't want to take someone's desk chair that they're using. I just
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I sometimes will think this, and I'm just going to give this as a pep talk for others. You sometimes, like on the environmental benefit specifically, like there's so much waste that goes into producing, like the actual product waste of like clothing or plastic and metals and other things that just are going to end up in a landfill someday, that goes into producing more new stuff for us to consume in this world. And you might think like, oh, I can't make a difference. Like me making this secondhand decision doesn't mean anything. Yeah, in theory, like one person doesn't, but you're one of hopefully millions that will make better decisions over time to reuse the stuff we already have and not go, buy more fast fashion or buy more, whatever it is. And look, I'm not knocking fast fashion. I buy it sometimes. And certainly like when you have kids and other things, there's times when it can feel like it makes more sense for wherever you're at in your life stage or whatever. But when you can, I think the idea is like when you can make a different decision, it can be really nice to get something secondhand, and it can have a meaningful impact on the environment.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned fast fashion because I've been letting this thought roll around in my head, and I hope it comes out right. I've almost been thinking of thrift store shopping as my new fast fashion. Like instead of ordering a top on Amazon and I'm like, oh, well, it's $12. And so I don't care if I only wear it once or twice or I don't really like it, like no big deal. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to buy the same shirt at the thrift store for probably a similar price or less. And then if I don't like it or I don't wear it a ton, it's not a big deal. But again, I didn't like create a demand for a new thing. I feel a lot better about that because I kept it out of the landfill. And then if I really don't like it, I'll just drop it back at a Goodwill or Salvation Army and let it go back into the cycle again.
I also think another benefit of shopping secondhand is the person on the other end, right? So, and that could be, you could take that from a number of angles. So it could be that, you're shopping at Goodwill or some other consignment store, which often is affiliated with some sort of a charity, but not always. Sometimes it's also a business. But either way, that business is creating more, secondhand opportunities for people. And so, if you're shopping at Goodwill, like I don't, know a ton about their business in terms of like, are they doing it right? But they are creating jobs. They are, trying to do better in the world and the entire organization of Goodwill. And when you buy something from somebody else, like from a Facebook group or something else, which we'll talk about, that person is earning some money on their stuff, right? So there's somebody on the other end when you're doing the shopping, there's somebody on the other end that is getting something good out of that experience instead of them just having something that they paid so much for forever ago and threw away, right? They're getting a little bit of money from it and they're happy to get rid of it probably because it's no longer serves a purpose for them, and you're happy to acquire it at a better price, and you got a good deal, they got a good deal. And I love that aspect of it personally because I do a lot of like buying from other people sometimes, and I love the like one-on-one and even the community aspect of it. Like I have met some of my neighbors through some of the kind of parenting groups in our neighborhood.
That is such a good point because sometimes I do think, just in my tendency to worry. So the U.S. economy, can't even say words today. The U.S. economy is largely driven by consumer spending. And sometimes I'm like, well, if we all started buying secondhand, like our economy wouldn't do as well as it is. And that's a worry. But your point is that there can be this secondhand economy that springs up, right? So not just
totally
thrift stores, but I've even seen there are even more like high-end secondhand curation services, right?
Yeah.
There are like boutiques that, it's not shopping secondhand isn't necessarily getting like a $3 t-shirt at the thrift store. It can be buying like a vintage, used, pricier thing. It can create jobs for the people working at those shops. Someone might start a business of like, oh, I'll go curate this like secondhand vintage wardrobe for you at a higher price point. Like there could be all kinds of economic activity that comes around the secondhand
totally
market.
I went into what I thought was a consignment shop because I love going into consignment shops when we're traveling because I always like it hasn't worked out for me recently, but I'm always like, you can find like a really cool Australia t-shirt like at a consignment shop because it's from some like local event, like it's just like you can find some like neat souvenir type things, and consignment shops are just fun to go to even here, but even cooler when you're in another country. But I went into one in Australia, and it turns out it was more like a vintage place. And it was like it was exactly what you're talking about. And it wasn't, I saw some others that were more like, high-end labels and stuff. This one was all like old rap t-shirts
Oh.
And they were like $50-$60 each, and like old basketball jerseys, and like really targeted towards younger people. And I was like, man, I used to have like a ton of these shirts when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I should have held on to them. I could have sold them for a lot.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was really cool that, I mean, at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to pay like $60 for a shirt I used to own when I was a kid. But from a nostalgia standpoint, it was actually really cool, well curated stuff. And I'm like, look, sometimes secondhand stuff isn't good for your wallet, but it's really cool. Like it could still be good, right? Even when you're actually paying more for it because it's vintage at that point.
Right, right. And a lot of times, when you're buying something secondhand, I think you get a better like snapshot of how quality it is. So I think this often if I am shopping at a consignment shop, thrift store, etc. Like if I'm looking at a sweater and it hasn't pilled, like then it's not going to pill because someone else owned it and they wore it, and they like if it didn't get stretched out and weird and kind of like start to fall apart, then it's probably not going to for me either because somebody else already like tested the quality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Or they just never wore it.
That's also possible. That's possible.
But either way, you're getting something brand new at that point. So
yeah, exactly.
Win-win either way.
Right. And then I think the last thing I was thinking of when the reasons to shop secondhand is the absolute thrill of the hunt. Finding the good deal, finding something you can't find maybe new in stores, having that alert set up and you finally find the thing that you were looking for or the savings. I think it's more fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big proponent of like not going shopping when you don't need something. And like definitely not like walking into a place like TJ Maxx or Marshall's or where you're just going to see quote like deals and then like want something that you didn't really even need or weren't in the market for. But I will say I do like the thrill of the hunt of a consignment store. So again, like when I'm traveling, I'll walk into like every consignment store I see. And I do sometimes like, and one of my kids likes doing this now too, going to the thrift store, going to a consignment store because it is just kind of fun to like look around, especially if you have good willpower about not buying something that you really don't need or that's not just again that you would use, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's a good deal, you don't want to get it.
But I think sometimes I actually do the opposite of that.
How so?
Like, okay, I'm with you. I don't like to go into a random store like TJ Maxx because I think I'll end up with a bunch of stuff I don't need and just a bunch of stuff that maybe doesn't necessarily need to exist in the world.
Yeah.
If I go into Nordstrom and I'm just browsing kind of for fun, I might find things that are like better quality that I might actually not need but would use and wear for a long time. But if I go into Nordstrom and I'm just browsing around, like I might spend $500 without really thinking about it.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
But if I go into the thrift store, I could just be like, listen, Liz, you just throw anything you want in this cart. Like it was all going to end up in the landfill anyways. It's all like $1. Like it's guilt-free. Mindless browsing in my mind.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And it's like low risk, right? Like, your regret level on that, 2 weeks later on that $1, $5 item is much different than when you got something at Nordstrom. Now you actually can return the Nordstrom thing on the flip side. And if you change your mind, I mean, and you can't return the thrift thing 99% of the time, I'd say you can't return secondhand stuff based on all the places you bought it from.
Yeah.
Well, I should correct what I even said myself because I don't do this. Like I said what you need. I more meant like like if you'll use it, like there's all sorts of things I buy that I do. I mean, look, most of the things I buy, I don't need. Yes, I want and will use, right? And so I totally feel you on that example.
Like a great example for me is holiday decor, because if I have to go to Target for something, like I'm just grocery shopping there and then I go into the holiday section, I'm like, oh my God, look at this little tree, look at this little wreath, look at this can, and I want it all. And it's like, again, it's all, I don't want to make those purchases. Like those things don't need to exist. There's already enough holiday decor in the world. It's not probably sustainably made, etc. But if I go to the thrift store, they have a whole holiday section and I just feel totally guilt-free throwing whatever I want in my cart.
Yeah. I don't think I've spent a lot of time in the holiday section of a thrift store.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. It's so great.
Yeah, I tend to like look at clothes more when I'm in there, but I should peruse the other areas.
I bought a little tree last year, like for my home office, like just a little baby one. And and again, it was a plastic thing. Like if that person hadn't donated it, it would have ended up in a landfill forever. And instead I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So
very nice.
Anyways, we could We could go on, but
Well, those are many of the benefits of shopping secondhand. And the other thing that we'll just point out is you can also be the seller, right? So you can be either end of this, lovely economy. And it's a great way to give new homes the things that you have that you don't need anymore, might have regretted purchasing. There could be a bunch of reasons why you want to get rid of stuff. You've outgrown it, whatever. And it's really nice to don't just, if that stuff still has more life, donate it, sell it. Everything we're about to talk about, you could be on either end of. We're kind of talking about it from the buying secondhand, but imagine yourself on the other side of things while we talk about this stuff, because it depends, what's going on in your life or what that particular object is that you either have something or you want something, or maybe you need something. Just to further confuse it. Okay, but moving on. Okay, what's some of the best secondhand stuff that you think of in terms of the categories that are really great for buying secondhand, Liz?
Yeah. I mean, I think the all-time winner is probably cars. All of my cars have been secondhand, and I think it's well established buying cars used is usually the financially savvier decision.
Yeah. I will admit, I think I've said this on other podcast episodes, though I believe this practice. I haven't always implemented it. I have at times.
Have you ever implemented it?
Yeah, I have. Okay. My Subaru was used.
Nice.
But again, Mike pretty much really aggressively forced me into that one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I remember
Had he not intervened, I might have bought new there. And I've bought other. The thing is, prior to the Teslas, which had government credits, and so that was really the only reason I went in that new versus used. Prior to that, I had only bought, I was going to say I only bought 2 cars in my life, but really, and those were both new, but they were 15 years apart. But really, there was a third one, but at one point, Greg took one and then I bought a new one. And so it was I really only bought, I don't know.
Okay,
let's not. It doesn't matter. I buy new cars. It's
okay to buy new cars.
It's not a good decision. It's been more happenstance than my intent. Oh, it was when at the time I wanted Priuses, and it was hard to find used Priuses. They were new, and everybody wanted to keep theirs if they had one. There was not a good used market for them.
Yeah,
that's going to be my excuse for now. But I'll tell you what. I bought a new car right out of college. One of the worst decisions I ever made. So I say the worst, but it was. I should have bought used. That was a great time when.
Between being a Friends on Fire super fan and being an Inside Out Money co-host, I feel I'm Maggie, but you brought your brand new Honda Civic, and then you brought your Prius, and then you had your Subaru, and then you had your 2 Teslas.
Yeah. It was a Honda Accord, but you got most of your facts.
Sorry, a Honda Accord. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was. I just got a job. I should buy myself a new car out of college, and bad decision.
That's
not
fair.
a good use of my money. But anyways, okay, yeah, so cars, they lose a massive amount of money right off the lot. Financially, you're always, for many reasons we aren't going to get into on here, you're better off to buy used.
Yeah.
Another big one is clothing and toys. And especially kids' clothing and toys, but just as much adults don't have as many toys, but I guess you could say adults do have a lot of toys because they have stuff, right? And things and gadgets and hobbies and all sorts of stuff. So adult toys and adult clothing and kids' toys and clothing.
Kids' toys, kids' clothing, maternity clothing. These are just such temporary things. And I don't know if you did this, but it seems I know a lot of people when they had children, there's almost this children's clothing distribution system, between Facebook neighborhood groups and buy nothing groups. It's I only use this for 3 months. Please take these 3 full garbage bags of.
There's so many resources for people selling stuff like that, and then also just giving it away. You meet so many. I mean, I had someone at work who was more senior than me for a while, early on, give me just piles of really nice clothes, stuff that was much nicer than I would have ever bought. And then I continued to do that to different people. And so I know a lot of people who a lot of their clothes have been gifted to them from someone else who, again, you just, especially in the early days. I mean, my kids are finally getting to the point where they're kind of staying close-ish to the same size and can wear things for years. But there's times where it's nothing lasts more than a year. Your kids are growing so fast. And so, secondhand clothing, the idea of selling and buying and or giving away or getting kids clothing is the perfect category for this.
Yeah, perfect use case.
Toys.
Yeah.
And like I said, adult toys, you get puzzles. I mean, there's all sorts of things where it's
Right.
I kind of have this belief of I'm never buying a puzzle. I just people will give them to me. The library gives them to me.
There's enough puzzles in the world. They just already exist.
Yeah, they do already exist.
That's what I think of.
Yeah.
Tools are another good one. So but I don't know if this counts as a tool, but I feel like we have bought and sold so many secondhand lawnmowers. Like when we moved, depending on the size of the yard, like, we had a push one, then we wanted an electric one, and then we had just hired a lawn service, so we sold ours.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough lawnmowers in the world.
Yes, I agree. And there's enough, just tools. There's a lot of like obscure tools and where it's like, bought a tile cutter for something and you really don't ever need it again. Then the other thing on tools I would say too is it's one where like on our neighborhood groups, if you just need like something really one time, you also can just ask to borrow it. So that's a different sort of take on secondhand. But remember, on all of these things, there is no, I think we did a whole episode on buy nothing, which I'll put in here, but like just ask to borrow stuff when you need to. And then you could, sometimes I'll come on and just say like, I need to use something once. Does anyone have one for sale? And someone will just say like, oh, you could just borrow it if you need to.
Same. Yeah. I've just asked to borrow it in my neighbor. Like, I'm like, I just need a shovel for 10 minutes, or I just need a saw for 10 minutes. And
I need a shovel between 2 and 4 a.m. I'll give it right back to you.
Yeah.
And
I would love
like, that's really sketchy. I don't think you were getting what I was saying. It's weird when you want to borrow a shovel from someone. I just need it for 10 minutes. Just need to bury something. I'll give it right back when I'm
kind of
done.
big. I did not get it. Thank you. Sorry.
It's okay. All my murder jokes. Okay.
I know. I just sometimes have this visualization. Like, I just imagine zooming out in my neighborhood. And what if you could just see into everyone's garage and you were like, wow, just in these 5 square blocks, there's 100 lawnmowers and 100 saws and 100 shovels and like
seed spreaders and just really random things,
Yeah.
Okay. Another one is furniture. We'll get into some furniture, more specific examples at the end of like when we do smash or pass of like different types of furniture.
Okay.
But I'd say like hard furniture, and I mean hard furniture is like
not soft,
not to give a tease, but like not a mattress, not a even like sheets. Yeah, fabric. Yeah, I'm less interested in fabric, but not opposed to it. Depends if I knew the person. If I it depends. Yeah. But like hard furniture. Of like, a dresser, not a couch, but like, and actually that's not true. I've had used, we had this like futon thing in our kids' room. Again, I say when I know the person, when it's like someone in my neighborhood, they didn't have pets. Like it was in our kids' room and then my office for like years. And it was like a really great thing. It looked brand new.
Lamps, bookshelves. I mean, again, all of this like exists in the world. Have you ever seen, I see pictures online sometimes. It's like move out time at colleges, and people just absolutely like dumpster their entire apartment or their entire dorm room.
No, I'm not.
And it's so sad.
Should go hang out in a college town around that time of year.
Yeah. No, you can get a lot of stuff.
Another one is appliances. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I was just, all the time I'll like drive by and I see like a dryer on the street and it'll say like it works. And you can tell it's just like the older style of dryers. Yeah. Which according to my appliance repair person and my dad, they don't make them like they used to.
I believe that.
So you should want an old dryer actually. It'll last you forever.
No, I want a fashionable new dryer in a cool new color.
They come in colors now?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, I was like,
I mean,
white.
They probably do, but yeah. I have a secondhand ice cream machine that I got on a Buy Nothing group. Although I confess, I only used it once, and I was just thinking this morning, I should put it back on Buy Nothing. I should like send it back out into the universe.
Yeah, you should.
For someone else to go to Whole Foods and buy $100 worth of stuff to make your own ice cream at home and then only do it once.
Yeah. Someone gifted one of my kids an ice cream maker for a birthday present, and they were always like, oh, we want to go make it, and I'm like reading the list of ingredients and I was like, can I just go buy some ice cream, because this is like expensive, or can we just go out for ice cream, because I think it might be cheaper. But that example reminded me, it's not just secondhand, it's third hand, it's fourth hand. Like just because you got it secondhand doesn't mean it can't have a third home. Or
love that.
Just like cars have many homes sometimes.
Electronics are another good one. I have 2 used iPads sitting on my desk right now. They hold up for a long time.
We did a whole episode on cell phones and talked about like buying used cell phones and iPads and stuff.
Nice.
And there's a lot. All my kids have used phones. I don't have a used phone, but I would be totally willing to. I just treated myself when I left my job.
I don't have a used phone. I mean, although my own, I have used it extensively. My iPhone 12 from like 2020 is on its last legs, but
phones are kind of like cars. Like they lose a lot of value right off the lot. So you even buying one iPhone back, you can save, hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
But electronics is a good one. Books is another one. Books is one similar to puzzles where I'm like, every now and then I buy a book if I really want to like own it and have it on my shelf, but I could care less if it's secondhand. There's a secondhand bookshop that we love in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I always try to go there first. And you can also, there's like all the free libraries in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's the public library. There's all sorts of ways you can not buy a book brand new.
Yeah, I'm mostly a Kindle reader, but we do have a lot of little free libraries in the neighborhood, and I love picking something up. Again, it's like low commitment. I can just pick it up, flip through it, maybe read a couple chapters, and if I don't like it, like no loss. So
yeah.
Cool.
You just go put it back in another one.
I like it.
Okay. I'm sure there's more things of categories. There's so many things in the world.
Right, exactly.
Those are some examples.
Tell us what we missed.
Yeah, you can tell us what we missed.
But we talked about why it's so good, the best things to get, but there are some things to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. You want to get it right. I always personally want to get things from a smoke and pet-free home, especially on clothing. I've got a decent amount of like pet allergies and I just don't like the smell of smoke. I remember one time I bought like a lot. It was called like a lot because it was like not everything wasn't labeled. It was like a lot of kids' clothing off of eBay, which I don't really buy things on eBay that often. And I didn't check for that. When it arrived, it reeked of smoke.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Oh no. Did it come out when you washed it?
I think I remember like Googling and trying to find ways. It was such a long time ago. I don't even remember. I was sort of grossed out. I don't even think I like messed with it at that point. I think I entertained like I should fix this. And then I was like, looked at my like tiny little baby and was like, nope, not putting this near her.
Things.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And but I just was like really disappointed in myself that I like didn't check. And so every time I list things, I say from a smoke and pet free home. I know you can't say both halves of that, but
I smoke a lot.
I know. I meant the pet portion, guys.
I have a lot of pets. I don't.
No judgment if you do. I'm just saying I don't want that smell. It's a very strong smell.
It's a very strong smell.
Yeah. So just check for that, right? You may not care, but if you do care, check and or ask because it's not an offensive question to ask at all.
Yeah, you can just say that you're allergic, even if you're not. Yeah. Like if you don't prefer it, just if you feel uncomfortable asking.
Yeah, just say I've got an allergy and wanted to check.
Yeah. The allergy is I don't like it. I'm allergic to not liking stuff.
So this next one is I'm very passionate about this one because I have sold a couple cars actually on Facebook Marketplace and I think mainly cars. There are so many scammers on Facebook Marketplace. So I often talk about Facebook as a great place to sell and buy stuff. But to be clear, I'm talking about local neighborhood groups on Facebook. When you go to Marketplace on Facebook, which I'm not totally knocking because you can find and buy things on Facebook Marketplace, and I have, but be very careful because there's a lot of scammers and they're like very subtle in some of their scams. They're trying to take over your phone number. They're saying that they're going to send you a code and that they need you to send it to them, which is two-factor authentication, and they're trying to get a code from some other place to like transfer your number over to Google Voice. They're trying to do a lot of sketchy things. My point is be really careful. If something seems too good to be true, if something's being sold at a price that seems too good to be true, and then the communication is funny, like just have your sussy baka radar up. You don't know the term sussy baka? Sussy baka? I don't know. That's like a teen term. I don't know what it means. You know, someone that's suspect. Sussy baka. I don't know where the term came from. Hopefully that's not offensive. I'm like pretty sure it's not. I'm going to Google it now.
It's like have your guard up.
Sussy baka. Oh, here, I'll tell you what it means. It's from, have your guard up. But if you want to know, suspicious fool. Sussy baka means suspicious fool.
Okay.
Anyways, it's all the kids say it. And me. Have your guard up. And but the point here is like, keep an eye out for scams. If someone's trying to overpay you and then wants you to pay them back, like people can pull back wire payments. Just be really careful about this. We did a whole episode on scams, and I'll put a link in the show notes, and we get into some of these examples in more detail of how people have been scammed on Facebook and other places. But my point is look for local Facebook neighborhood groups in almost every neighborhood. I'm in like 4 of them in different neighborhoods in Atlanta. There are parent exchange groups, and they're called like parent exchange, and they mostly sell They started around kids stuff, but they sell everything now. Like things that don't have nothing to do with parenting. There's people that aren't parents on there. It's a great group of like local neighborhood people. And there's moderators that like live in your neighborhood who take care of the group. There's buy nothing neighborhood groups. They're by your neighborhood. It's your neighbors and it's someone like in your community. Usually every now and then someone could get in there that's a sussy baka, but it is way less common than like the entire Facebook marketplace, which is open.
Yeah. I think you're right to be careful on Facebook Marketplace. I'm on almost entire Facebook Market. I could give you a long list of things I bought just straight off the Wild Wild West Facebook Marketplace and not neighborhood groups.
But do you see a lot of nonsense in your?
I just think
have you had to
Yeah, but it always seems so obvious to me. Like,
yeah,
if you get a 1% weird vibe, you just like move on. Like if someone's not immediately just seems nice, I don't know. Usually you can see if you have like a friend in common.
And you can check yes, you're right. You can check.
You can look at their history. It just seems like not, I don't want to say it's not, I'm like what? Like it's hard.
It's not hard to spot. Oh, but I will say they're like some of them seem real.
Yeah.
And so just be careful is our only reminder on that.
Right. And you want to be careful. So someone trying to get your phone number or trying to like overpay, like that stuff, again, it seems pretty, I don't know, it feels like it pops up right away. That's the kind of thing you want to be really careful of because that's a big deal. On the other hand, what I don't do is like, if I get somewhere and they're like, oh, do you want to plug this thing in and try it? I'm like, no, I don't know. Like, I'm just going to trust you. And if the worst case scenario is I'm out like $20 and this ice cream maker doesn't work, I feel fine about that.
Well, I think it depends on the size. Like if I'm going to buy someone's used Peloton or treadmill, like I'd like to try it out real quick.
Totally.
I'd like to, unless it's someone I really know and like trust.
Well, I say totally, but I bought a treadmill off Facebook Marketplace and he was like, do you want to plug it in and try it? And I was like, I don't know, if you take my $400 and this doesn't work, like that's your karma. He seemed nice. Yeah. I'm just going to trust it. Yeah. And knock on wood, I've never.
Your gut. I think it's use your gut. I also think when someone says that, I'm always like, oh, there's a high likelihood this thing works, or they wouldn't offer that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it depends on.
Another one of my like favorite tips, as it were, about shopping secondhand is using secondhand shopping to MVP something. So MVP being a term, minimum viable product. And so when tech companies use this term, they mean like, okay, what's like the minimum level of product our thing needs to work in order for us to get out in the market. Like Instagram, for example, they didn't launch with the stories and reels and whatever. They just launched with like, here's pictures, and then they iterated, right? And so in my life, I've used buying secondhand if I want to test something out, but I'm not sure that I want to fully commit to it. I did a whole episode on this. So one was like, I bought a secondhand spin bike, like a non-Peloton bike for $150. And I just used the Peloton app with my phone before I went and bought the real Peloton bike, which I also bought used, to just test it out without like this big commitment, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Liz. And I love that concept of, I always love the minimum viable product term at work. Mm-hmm. And I love implementing it into, like your consumer life. It's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, where did you buy your used Peloton bike?
Facebook Marketplace from a stranger. I was like, hey, can you just turn it on? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, great, cool. Let's go. Because that was kind of exciting. You can get them now. I think they're going used for like $800. But at the time, I think I paid $1,400 for it used, because at the time they were selling for like $2,000 new. They're a lot cheaper now. But anyways, it's fine. I like it.
What's a new one cost now?
I think they're around $1,500 new now.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It's gone down.
It really has. But
hey, actually, that example of like the price of a Peloton going down is another really important tip that I hadn't thought of. I'm trying to think of a good example here, but there have been things that I have sold where I go back and like look at what I paid for it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, I paid $200 for it 2 years ago. And then I'll look and I'm like, oh, it's $150 on Amazon now. So I can't, like, I'm cautious when I buy something even that I couldn't, like, I'll go see what something costs new. Cause I'm like, sometimes someone's actually selling something and it is more than what it would have cost right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just buy it new for the same price or a really similar price. And so definitely do your research, because just because someone says I paid $2,000 for this, it doesn't mean that the current market brand new cost of it is still $2,000. Some things actually go down in price over time, especially electronics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so just be a thoughtful consumer.
Workout equipment in general does not hold its value.
Okay, so before we get to Smash or Pass, some things at the end, we'll just run through some quick secondhand resources. And we've talked about some of these, but just to like recap of like where you can find good secondhand stuff. Buy Nothing groups, which are often on Facebook or some similar platform.
Yeah. If you're not familiar, a Buy Nothing group is usually a Facebook group where people post something and say, I have this, and someone can just have it for free.
Yeah. The whole spirit is you can't sell stuff on Buy Nothing groups. It's everything is being just exchanged. There's also the neighborhood Facebook groups we talked about. Also Facebook Marketplace, which I think I've had some success on. I just sometimes get annoyed at like the volume of scammers versus real people messaging me.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's usually fairly evident. It's just sort of noise to mess with.
Yeah.
I love like Poshmark. I've sold thousands of dollars of clothes on Poshmark before, and there's other similar apps. And so look at the app store. If it has a good rating, if it's got a lot of downloads and users, like, you know, there's other ones like that. You still got eBay, still works for a lot of stuff. I don't use eBay nearly as much these days, but it's still around.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
Oh my gosh,
still
I
use
love
it.
eBay. Or I loved it when I was younger.
Yeah.
I haven't used it in forever. Yeah. Consignment stores or thrift stores. And then borrowing. Again, I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to add borrowing to the list because I think borrowing hits all of the points that we talked about. It's good for your wallet. It's good for the environment. It helps you build community and meet a neighbor. It's less wasteful, and you feel really happy. You just feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't go buy that thing. I got to borrow it.
Yeah.
What a score.
Yeah.
What a
That's
score.
really nice. Yeah, yeah. One less thing in my house. Okay, Liz, I feel like you've gotten some good secondhand deals. What are some like cool secondhand deals that you've gotten?
Yeah. So just in the last year, because I really started to lean into this more recently, because before that I was like much more into convenience. I was in a season of life where convenience was my highest value. And now I'm really leaning into buying secondhand. I just bought a $1,500 e-bike for $500 off of Facebook Marketplace. So pumped.
That's a really good deal.
It was, and I love it.
E-bikes are expensive.
And the lady was so nice, and we had like a whole moment. It belonged to her husband who passed away. And every time I ride it, I like think about them riding their bikes together and like how much they enjoyed that. And it was just way better than going to REI, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just bought the office chair I'm sitting in right now. I wanted to try kind of a different style of office chair. Again, wanted to MVP it. So probably would have been $150. Got it for $20 from my neighbor. I wanted a separate iPad. I wanted like a separate iPad that I just used for work. So I got an iPad mini that would have been about $500 new for $150. And then the mic I'm using right now, this microphone, I usually $100, $150 if it's not on sale. And I got it for $45. All of those from Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. You know, every time we have like some technical issues, I'm going to be like, it's that used Yeti you bought.
No.
I'm just kidding. That's like really good deals. I love at the beginning how you said like you were in a season of life around kind of convenience, and you said, you know, the very beginning one of your goals is to buy more secondhand. I also think this is a season like and it's like a muscle. If you get into the habit of buying more secondhand and then putting like selling things and getting rid of more things too, I think you think that first, right? And that's one thing I would challenge people to do is anytime you want something, think secondhand first and do a little bit of research. And then if you can't find it and it doesn't work out and you really need an e-bike now and you don't see any good used ones out there, like, okay, then, you know, perhaps move on. But if you spent a few months and were patient, you'd find an e-bike used eventually. You just aren't going to find one in 24 hours necessarily.
Yeah.
And so I think if you can kind of plan ahead and just think of it as your first option before you and try to exhaust that as an option before you move on to something else, it can be a good thing to kind of get you in the habit and like push you into that season of life if you're not in it, because I think it's a very nice season to be in, to use that term.
Yeah, 100%. Well said.
I can't think of as many examples just because I have a bad memory. If I walked around my house and had done that in advance of this episode, I could probably come up with some. I will say I've gotten a lot of like amazing kids clothing secondhand. That's probably my biggest category.
That's huge.
And what your comment about the e-bike made me remember when my dad died, we sold his motorcycle, which was like his pride and joy. And then like at a time, something that was a financial stretch for him, like, you know, a big goal and like a big investment for him. And we sold it to somebody and like, they were really, and he had, you know, that thing was meticulously cared for. And so it was such a nice thing for the next person to get because they got like a really good motorcycle that had been so well cared for. And I just think about, you know, like you just mentioning that e-bike example made me think of it. But so I probably sold more things than I can think of that I've bought, but I bought tons of secondhand stuff. I just can't think of them. I get way more like really cool stuff from the Buy Nothing group, like just different
Yeah.
furniture and like
Yeah.
dressers and kind of things around our house that we'll like repaint, refinish.
Yeah. It's just a good, man, it feels so good. It really does.
Yeah, it does feel good. Okay.
Okay.
You know what feels good is a little bit of Smash or Pass.
It feels so good.
We did a whole Smash or Pass episode once
Yeah.
on where we were Smash or Passing financial rules. If you're interested in a whole episode of us doing this, I'll put that link in the show notes.
And if you didn't like Smash or Pass, now is your time to skip to the next episode.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Maggie.
Okay.
Talk about some things that you may or may not want to buy secondhand. Smash or pass on secondhand shoes?
Pass. Wait, you gonna say it with me?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry. We'll say it together. Ready? One,
1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Pass. But we don't have time to clarify all these, but I will clarify this one. Most of the reason I would actually buy secondhand shoes if I could try them on. And so I've sold a lot of secondhand shoes, but it's often on Poshmark. And it's like, to that person who can't try it on, that's too risky for me.
Yeah.
But I will totally, I don't mind wearing them. I just want to try them on first. And I want them to be like clean and not look like they got like foot sweatiness in them.
I have smashed in the past like some kind of interesting like vintage heels I found at a thrift store that I could try on, but I mean, I haven't done it in a long time and I probably won't anytime soon. All right. Smash or pass.
Okay.
Secondhand underwear.
Underwear. I mean, is it new underwear that it was like sold? Does it look new?
Used.
Okay.
Pass.
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 But okay, again, we don't have time for stories and all this. But like my kids definitely have worn secondhand underwear from each other.
That's fine.
And there was a point, I was just told one of my kids this story the other day. There was a point where Anna, who got a lot of her older sister's secondhand underwear, she was like the middle kid, right? So we never passed it down to 2 kids because that's just too far. But, well, actually, that's not true. We might have. But I told Anna, I go, as Anna got a little older, I was like, there was a point where I was like, you know what? I feel like Anna should get her own underwear. We should buy Anna new underwear. You know, like, I know you just sort of like end up with clothes from your older sister, but I was like, underwear is where I kind of draw the line on like, she didn't care. At a young age, they just don't care or notice. Yeah. But there was a point where I was like, okay, we can afford new underwear. Let's buy new underwear.
We made it.
Yeah.
All right. Smash or pass on secondhand workout clothes?
Smash
on the top,
it depends.
Pass on the bottom.
Yeah. And it depends. Like, I need to see it. If it really looks brand new and like kind of unsullied, I'm good.
Yeah, I am okay with tops. Workout used leggings, I feel a little. I don't know.
I've definitely sold some though.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm not saying I would never, but probably not. All right.
Okay, mattress.
Smash or pass used mattresses?
Pass.
Okay, if you say
I'm always gonna pass. What you got?
Have you ever stayed in a hotel?
Well, yes, I have. And I worked for a hotel company where we used to say, there was some phrase that some guy I used to work with used to say of like, about used mattress, about like, yeah, we sell used mattresses. Or,
we rent used mattresses.
He had a funny phrase like that. And I was like, oh, it makes it sound so gross. Yes, I've stayed in a hotel for a few days.
I think you have to be careful with mattresses, but it's also like if you've stayed in a hotel, you've stayed on a hotel that like thousands of people have slept on that same mattress, as opposed to if you're buying a used mattress.
Not just slept, fluids, all sorts of things you don't want to think about.
Right. But if you buy a used mattress from like your neighbor, it was probably one person used it. And maybe it was even in their guest room and it only got slept on every once in a while. Tread carefully.
If it has
but,
a story like that, if it's got a story like that, which I don't, again, hard to corroborate that it was like in my guest. And I have seen people post stuff and be like, oh, this was in my guest room and only got used a couple times. No. And if it's going to then go to my guest room, or if it's just there could be a situation. On all of these, there could be a situation where I would buy used underwear. There's some, there's a very particular type of underwear I wear. It's Patagonia. I love it. Oh, it's expensive, but it lasts forever. But if someone was selling some and they like claim they had never worn it, I might believe them.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay. We put this on here. Smash or pass, nose hair trimmer?
A nose hair trimmer. What would you do if you needed one?
I guess I don't need one in general, so I guess I would pass.
I'd smash it. It's a hard object. You can clean it.
That's fair.
So I tried it. Greg was getting rid of one, and he was going to throw it away, and I was like, do not throw that away. I will put that on the Buy Nothing group. And I put like a really funny posting up about it too.
Did it go? Did someone take it?
From my husband's nose to yours. Yeah, someone took it.
Okay, I love that.
It was free. I wasn't trying to sell the thing.
I don't know. I was trying to get rid of a mattress one time and I literally had to post. I was like, I will pay you $20. Please, someone come take this away. And that worked. All right, last one.
This was my
Smash or pass
suggestion.
used vibrator or sex toy.
I mean, I'm going to put it. Okay, wait. We say it 1, 2, 3.
Oh, pass.
It's in the it depends category for me. Because here's the story. I'll tell you why. So one of my friends is a lesbian, but was a newish lesbian. And so she was sort of learning lesbian culture and how things work. And she had been with someone. They had acquired various vibrators together in their relationship, broke up. And we had discussed some of these vibrators, so I was familiar with them. And broke up. And then she basically explained to me that they all get thrown away. And I was like, why would you throw them away? She's like, well, because I used them with this person. And I'm like, so? Like, and I was like, I'll take it. It's just you. I know you. Like, I'll wash that thing. Like, it'd be fine. That was like a nice, expensive vibrator. I mean, just to be clear, I didn't take it. I think they had already been thrown away. If you care about the ending of the story.
But you would.
But my point is, I had a whole idea. I was like, we should start a whole thing with like used vibrators, because I was like, is every lesbian out there just like 3 months in, they break up, they're throwing away all the vibrators they bought with that person?
No.
You can't reuse them in a new relationship.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable and it's expensive. Like,
shoot.
So anyways, I just like, I always think about that example, and I was like, I wanted to create a site just for, you broke up, but it doesn't mean there's not more life left in this thing, you know?
Yeah. You broke up. It's not broken.
It's not. Oh yeah. There you go. Future business idea in early retirement that I may come out with eventually.
Incredible. What can't you do, Maggie Tucker?
Yeah. Okay.
On
I'm
that
sure we
note-
could throw in some more smasher passes. On that note, lingerie would be a good one too.
Yeah.
I think we've already covered how we feel about it.
I
through
think that's
workout
underwear.
clothes and
I think I
underwear.
put it in the same category.
Yeah,
as
they
underwear.
fit somewhere in there.
Right.
I don't know. I'd put it in like a more serious category than underwear, but
It
because
seems
lingerie,
like you wear it for
got
less time, though. It's like not all day.
you wear it for less time, but you know it got more action than like it
That's
likely got a
true.
little
Yeah.
more action and
That's
fluids
a
and
good
other
point.
things than like the average day. I don't know. Okay,
Amazing.
This is probably our sign to wrap things up.
I think that's our sign to wrap things up. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, we know your time is limited and valuable. We appreciate you spending some of it with us. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can give us a written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If any of this was too much for you, don't leave us a review, though. That's okay. But we really appreciate it when you want to leave us a review.
Yeah. You can also share this episode with a friend or a family member to encourage ongoing discussions about money. Maybe post it in your local Buy Nothing group next time you post something.
Yeah.
You can also subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you have thoughts or questions, ideas for Smash or Pass games for us to play in the future, we would love to hear from you. You can leave a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram. You can find me at Liz Gets Loaded. You can find Maggie at Inside Out Money.
Yeah. Awesome. And we'll put all these links in the show notes. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.